Hey, we're here in the ARS garage. I've got Jay from ISIS and Mike Ruth from Alston Race Cars, and we're here to talk about the Alston Performance Electronics System. And these guys brought a few things along to show us, so let's take a look.
Thanks for having us on the show, Dave. As you know, we've been building cars for a long time, and most of the time we do have to wire those cars. And for years and years, we use a traditional wiring kit similar to this one right here. The problem is we've experienced problems throughout the years. These big fuses here are a problem. These switches are an analog switch. A lot of these cars get tire shake and have problems, and the switch sticks open and they just lose a fuel pump and you lose the race. One of the biggest problems we have is this gigantic pack of wires. It adds a lot of weight to the car, and it also is very complex to try to figure a problem out if you have a short in a system somewhere. So we got a hold of Jay Harris here at ISIS and put our heads together and said we need to build something that's going to be less weight, way more efficient, way less complex. And this is kind of what we came up with here. I'm going to let Jay go ahead and explain the ins and outs of this system.
Yeah, this really is the best of both worlds. It's taking your expertise in 30 years of drag racing, plus our expertise in essentially turning electrical things on and off, and it really brings the best of both worlds. We essentially do what a traditional wiring harness does, we just do it a little differently. And the first thing you're going to notice is that there's two different parts. So instead of one centralized box, we break that into two different pieces. And this right here is what we call the master cell. So I always tell guys to think about this as the brain. You're going to tell the master cell what to do. So you're going to connect your switches to here, you're going to connect your trans brake switch, your line lock switch, whatever lighting switches you have. You're also going to connect this pack of switches in here, but the master cell is the brain. And what that then does is it sends commands to this power cell, which is the muscle. So switches go here, but this is what actually turns stuff on and off. And the big advantage of the system is that you put these in the car where you need them. You put this close to where your switches are, so the wire's short there. You put this close to where these switched things are. So again, you keep the wires short, easier to troubleshoot, and less weight. So switches go here, and again, what we worked on to develop with you guys is essentially this custom pack of switches here, with all, again, custom laser engraved with all the functions in the car, backlit so it's real easy to see in all driving conditions, real easy to work with a gloved hand. And the best thing about this is these are actually optical switches. So when I flip the switch, what I'm actually doing is I'm interrupting a beam of light. So there's actually no mechanical contact in there that you have to worry about vibrating apart. These we actually sell on the commercial side of our business and to guys that build construction equipment and off-highway equipment. So they're rugged, they're durable, they're sealed. And again, you don't have to worry about these contacts shaking apart. Now, one of the other nice things about this pack of switches is that entire pack of switches, including all the illumination, backlights, contacts, comes back through this little data cable. So you're not worried about a big bundle of wire like this coming from your switches. That's it. And that connects to this right here on the master cell. So you mount this in the car where it makes sense, connect that to your master cell, and again, this is the majority of the wiring of the car is done for you already. So once that's done, you're going to connect all of your outputs to the power cell. Now we pre-configure this, so it's going to control your starter solenoid, it's going to control your ignition, it's going to control whatever data acquisition you may need, it's going to control your line lock and your trans brake. That's already set up in the system. You literally follow it step by step and wire color by wire color. But again, it's going to be a lot less wire than the traditional solution. Now, one of the other things to note about the power cell here is that the fusing is built into here, so it's all in one box, and we don't use relays. Now, we talk to some customers on other racing parts of our business, and they actually change out their relays after every race because they're worried about that thing, it's been shaken, the contacts have been bounced apart, we can't worry about the relay failing in the next race. We use actually what's called a MOSFET, so it's a solid state part, and that MOSFET has less resistance than a relay, which means less heat. And I can also turn that on literally thousands of times a second. So it's less resistance, it's simpler, and again, there's no moving parts. So you don't have to worry about tire shake or any of the other vibration you're going to see on the track. You don't have to worry about that affecting the power cell. So the last thing that puts the two of these together essentially is this data cable. So in the kit, you get this data cable that's longer than you're going to need, so you can cut that to length if you need it. And this is what connects the cells together. So instead of this big rat's nest of wire strung out through the entire car, switches from here to the master cell, your outputs wire here to the power cell, and this is what connects it together. So a lot less weight, a lot less complexity of wiring. And then one of the last big features is that we build into the system diagnostic tools. All of a sudden something's not working, I don't know why. I can look at the screen here on the master cell, I can look at the indicators here on the power cell outputs, and with no tools, I can point to exactly where a problem is in the car. So you're on the track, my pumps aren't working, my fuel pump isn't working, my ignition isn't working. This will tell you, yeah, you know, your switch is bad. Or this will tell you that, you know what, you blew the fuse. Or it'll tell you that, yeah, there's a broken wire, and it'll point to where it is. So it makes wiring the car faster, and then if there are problems in the track, you can get those problems fixed and get racing again quickly. So again, the whole goal is to complete one integrated system that really anybody can install and anybody can put in, and it's going to take the complexity and the bulk of a traditional system like this out of the car.
Yeah, no, that's a great feature. This whole system really, I feel we nailed it, and I think this is going to revolutionize the way people wire their cars. This technology is here to stay. Some of those features that are in this system here are back from the Model A days, you know, relays and analog switches and everything. It's time for them to go the way of the 8-track. If you're using nitrous and gobs of it and need to control it, we've got something that you gotta have. Go ahead, Jay.
And again, it's just like we talked about in the base system. You know, we're giving a guy a real simple, flexible way to wire his car using kind of rock solid, proven technology. We've taken that same technology, added to it to now get you a real simple, easy to add modular nitrous system. So you got the base kit we talked about before, the Alston drag racing kit. You can either tack this on and add onto it, or this can even stand on its own. So if you have your own car already wired, but I want to add nitrous to it, you could either add it to an existing car or have it as part of the entire Alston kit. And really, it starts here, the same switches you saw in the other video. Okay, so I now have 4 additional switches that's going to control my purge, or my purge solenoid, open and close the bottle, it's going to control my bottle heater, and then I've got a nitrous arm right here. So this is what turns the system on. And if you look over here, we've got this little analog, or this little dial. There's actually 4 different channels on this dial, and I can get to those channels by pressing this button right here. Now I can set in real time in the car with all the heat and all the vibration, all the noise going around with a gloved hand. I can in real time dial in my trans brake delay and then dial in the timing for the 3 different stages. So this is set up for a 3-stage system, and this is actually set up for the first stage is progressive. So channel 1 is my trans brake delay, so let's say I want 200 milliseconds on the trans brake delay. And on my first stage, progressively, I want that, let's say, to be a second. So I dial in 1 second right there. And again, I can control, again, all 3 timings, all 3 stages right here off the dial. And so it's set up with an input for wide open throttle. So I get in the car, I arm the nitrous system, I hold down my trans brake delay, or my trans brake button, I hit wide open throttle, and then when I release it, I've got whatever delay I have dialed in here for the trans brake, and then it's going to progressively stage up stage 1, progressive, and then stage 2 and stage 3. And again, you can dial all that timing here in real time in the car. A lot of guys look at it and say, I'm using 70 amp relays for my nitrous. So 70 amp relays have to be bad. And a lot of guys have come to us and said, show me a 70 amp relay. I don't need to show you a 70 amp relay. I can actually show you 2 170 amp MOSFETs in parallel. So this is designed to handle the current. It's designed, you know, as big of a solenoid you want to put, we can control here right off the MOSFET. And again, the nice thing about it is there's no mechanical contact. You're not worrying about burning relays out, especially when you're doing progressive and you're cycling the solenoids on and off. That's all built in here. So again, the same rock solid technology using to go off and control the base functions in the car, we've now tacked onto that to get you very powerful control of your nitrous system.
Looks like the nitrous boys threw you a curveball and you hit it out of the park.
We knocked it out of the park. So.
Okay, Jay, let's go over one more time the features and benefits of this system and explain to everybody, you know, why this is the coolest thing on the planet.
Absolutely, and we really look at it 3 ways. First off, you're going to be able to install this wiring system in your car faster with less effort, less wire, and less complexity, number 1. So simpler install. Number 2 is that there's troubleshooting and diagnostic tools built in this that you just can't get in a traditional harness without a multimeter and crawling over the car. So that means, again, it's going to help you install it faster. And if there are problems at the track, you can go off and figure out real simply where your problems are. And then lastly, probably the biggest benefit we have is the fact that There are things that you can do with the ISIS system that you just can't do with a fuse and relay system. You can't do things like progressive. You can't do timing. You can't do delays. That's all built in here, and that's something you can't do with a traditional system. And so that's really, I think, the biggest benefits to your customers are, I can install it faster, I can fix problems faster when they come up, and I can do far cooler things with this than I can with an old wiring harness.
And a whole lot less weight.
A whole lot less weight.
And a ton more reliability.
Absolutely.
For more information on this system, you can go online at www.alstonracing.com, or you can give us a call at 847-395-3500. We'll send you out a free catalog.